Wonderful day here at Delta Summit. Bye.
Thank you. What a great discussion. A couple of quick announcements to make. The first one, which is really pleasing, is that we are on time. And I think that's down to the spectacular efforts of Pierre and his crew. The second one is that the innovation stage is open. There are some really cool, exciting talks all around innovation. Some startups to meet there. It's downstairs. It has coffee as well and free food. So please make your way down there if you're interested. It's the green agenda and it's well worth a visit. Now our next panel discussion, again, as alluded to, it's on blockchain island ecosystem. It's building that ecosystem. It's David Galea, founder of Beat Limited, who will introduce panelists Kenneth Farrugia, Byun, Matthew Camilleri, Paweł, Sobków, and Dr. Kristian Haehndel again. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. My name is David Galea. I'm founder of Beat Limited, a company involved in the provision of digitalization services in Malta, UK, and the Middle East. Today, as you know, obviously we have a very interesting agenda talking about Malta as a blockchain ecosystem, how this ecosystem can develop basically over time. As you might know, Malta traces its origins in economic development towards after independence. It's commenced its operations in the manufacturing industry, low-cost manufacturing, and subsequently it has moved beyond the manufacturing, go on the technological component, and facing aspects like electronics, high-precision engineering, and moving forward in the pharmaceutical sector. As we go along, in the years 1990s, the financial services area was developed. So from the financial service area, other sectors have been developed, which include the gaming industry, resulting in the current as we have today of the blockchain industry. 1 year down the line, regulation has been developed, and now we are in a situation where the country is accepting gaining a lot of interest from different players in this industry. To join me in this panel, we have some interesting speakers to comment on a number of questions which we shall be posing. We have Kenneth Farrugia, who is the chairman of FinanceMalta, and is also chairman of Malta Funds Industry, as well as chairman of Malta Investments. We have Byun coming from OKCOIN. We have Matthew Camilleri, who is the founder of Castille, a company involved in the provision of recruitment and selection amongst other human resource services. We have Mr. Paweł Sobków, who is responsible and primarily involved in venture capital and other financial financing, and Mr. Dr. Kristian Haehndel, who needs no introduction because he has been on this panel before this. He's involved and he's the founder of the company called UDR. I'd like to start off by giving the discussion that given the interest, I'd like to ask Mr. Farrugia, given the interest that has been developed over time in Malta as a blockchain island, a blockchain destination, what, in your view, has created and stimulated this interest amongst these various players?
Thank you, David. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and like my fellow panel members, welcome you to this event. If I had to summarize the key drivers for this state of play we have today, I would identify 4 key factors. The first factor is strategic foresight. Clearly, the stakeholders have identified a gap in the market. Blockchain operators and crypto operators ID them as being nomads, having really no framework to support their business. And I think this strategic foresight has enabled us to the current state of play we have today. The second factor is driven by the convergent vision of the key stakeholders. So the convergent vision of the regulator in Malta, of government from a policy setting point of view, as well as the contribution of the industry, which was facilitated in no small way by the open access to dialogue, through consultation papers that were issued by regulator here in Malta, through workshops that were organized. So I think this collaborative environment was conducive to where we are here today. Thirdly, it's agility. And I think agility is very, very important, particularly for jurisdictions that want to be first movers in any particular sector. And it's not agility doing things in a disorganized manner, but it's structured agility with a clear roadmap, with a project plan, with defined timelines to put us where we are today. I'm very surprised that in 12, 15 months from ground zero, we are in a situation where we have a fully fledged legislative framework and a supporting regulatory framework which enable the setting up of this business. I think the last point is the communication outreach. And this is a two-pronged initiative in my view. One, the internal communication outreach. A number of initiatives were introduced in Malta, organized in Malta, to brief stakeholders and operators on the opportunities that the sector presents, but also the external outreach through various initiatives, both at political level and even at industry level, to showcase Malta's value proposition insofar as the sector is concerned. I've been in financial services for just under 35 years, and this is not new to me. We've seen this innovation through regulation permeating itself in a number of areas in financial services. We introduced the professional investor fund regime way back in the year 2000, which was innovative in the marketplace. Protected sale legislation in the insurance space. We are the only jurisdiction to have protected sale legislation in Europe. And we've seen that in non-financial sectors, in the yachting space and the aviation space, where we've come up with innovative legislation, innovative regulation to develop business sectors. And of course, we are repeating this here today in the blockchain arena, where we're seeing the attendance in itself certifies the international interest that has been garnered for this particular sector.
Thank you very much, Kenneth. Kristian, you are as an entrepreneur have decided to set up an organization in Malta, particularly providing holistic blockchain solutions. What are your views? Do you agree with Kenneth on his assessment of the attractiveness of Malta as a destination for blockchain? What are your views on this?
Absolutely. We were one of the first to come to the island last year around November. And what we experienced was not just the points that was mentioned before, but the energy of the island, the people here, how open they are for dialogue, how open they are for change. And I felt that the philosophies of blockchain and the values were very similar to the Maltese Knights, right? Trying to protect the poor, trying to provide opportunities for others out of the system. And they were very agile to accept that and have dialogue. I think obviously the temperature conditions in Malta are amazing as well for any type of business. But the people are passionate to adopt a technology that could make an impact to Europe. That Maltese could potentially be the point of revolution, and that Malta can go onto the European map as one of the founding members who inspired this social revolution. Now, through our family and through our network at Genesis, we've spread around the globe. We have subsidiaries everywhere, and we have an experience on engaging government and engaging regulators, and it was very, very different, extremely different. I think Malta has the opportunity to really shape the industry and has the opportunity to show the others, whether it's the US or in Asia or even in Europe, how it can be done. Now, we want to be a partner, we want to use our company as a pilot, and the population and the size, we can pilot quite a lot of technologies here, whether that's payment systems, whether that's exchanges, whether that's even foundation. And the proximity to Africa allows us to do amazing things for the world. So I really encourage everybody here and all of the participants to try and get together and let's make a dent in the universe.
Great, thank you very much. Not everything is paints a rosy picture. Obviously, there are some negative connotations with the industry. In the past that we have seen, blockchain, particularly the fintech industry, especially cryptocurrencies, were associated with money laundering and illicit funding of illicit activities. Tim, from your view and experience in anti-money laundering and credit risk assessments, what would you suggest to government to overcome these risks in the event that to avoid that such type of organizations are set up in Malta and that retain our reputation and quality in the process?
Great question. You know, as a former AML officer of Visa Inc. and a bank examiner for the Federal Reserve Bank and the FDIC, I really don't have any special suggestions or recommendation to the MFSA or the government of Malta. I think they are doing a fabulous job. I think the key component is that what we all ask for in terms of our government officials and regulators as citizens, entrepreneurs, startups, is a balanced, fair framework. You know, of course there will be bad actors in the space, but what we are trying to do and what the ecosystem today is trying to build is a sustainable business. When I address this question among my friends, I'm old enough to remember when PayPal started their business back in the early 90s. And I thought as a bank examiner, who would use PayPal, right? It's only for the underworld. Certainly not today. PayPal is a formidable regulated financial institution. It has come a long way. I think we just looked at their financials. They make over $1 billion net profit a year. And so I think for all the entrepreneurs out here, you know, we need to comply with rules and regulations. We need to be respectful of different and multi-jurisdictional rules and laws. What we love about Malta is the balanced approach of the parliament, the legislature, the regulators, the MFSA, as well as in our business, we work very closely with the law enforcement, the FIU, Financial Intelligence Units of various countries. So I think that's how you build a robust system.
Thank you very much. Apart from this, there are obviously other challenges that have to be resolved. Over time, Malta, due to its overheating economy, we have seen a number of sectors which were trying really for additional employees and human resources. In your view, Matthew, okay, as an experienced person in this sector, do you think that the blockchain industry in Malta will face these challenges? And if yes, what should be done in your view to overcome these challenges?
So I was happy to hear Kristian's comment. Obviously, Kristian is an investor, blockchain investor, and he put a lot of emphasis on the people factor. Obviously, an ecosystem lives on people. Okay. So what I'm trying to do in terms of replying to you, David, I'll take 2 points. One, I'll give you some context as to what we're seeing currently in the market. And the second is what we feel are the most important drivers in terms of attracting people to the industry. So on the first count, we're meeting a lot of blockchain investors. And when we see human capital being built, there are 2 areas. The first is with the blockchain investors themselves. And the second point is with advisors. So consultancy businesses and practitioners looking to offer their services to blockchain clients. So for the investors, usually they're looking for operations and finance, okay? Usually starting with a very senior level. There are clear synergies with the financial services sector. So a lot of them are appreciating not necessarily past blockchain experience, but experience in middle to back office, for example, okay? As well as financial control. The other side is developers. Now obviously developers, the requirement is a lot higher. So there are volumes being required there. Most of the investors we've spoken to are mainly looking for good developers in Python and possibly Java, rather than requesting that they have specifically blockchain experience. Obviously, at the software architect level, they're requiring blockchain specific. Okay? What's the supply like in Malta? I think there are significant synergies between the clusters we already have onshore and the requirements of these new blockchain investors. Okay? When it comes to developers, we know different to other countries, so there's a shortage everywhere. Okay? But I feel that when you combine what we already have onshore and when you combine also the attraction and pull Malta's having as a jurisdiction, I think we should have, I'm cautiously optimistic, we should have enough people to build core teams onshore. Okay? Then obviously companies need to embrace modern trends in work for scaling up in different areas. Okay. I think most of the candidates we're speaking to are very passionate about tech, so we need to stay on the cutting edge of tech. Sometimes it's rated even above monetary considerations. And another pull for Malta's lifestyle. We're dealing with millennials, and for them, career and lifestyle are no longer two different things, they're the same. So we really need to make sure we protect the lifestyle, which I think makes Malta quite unique.
Okay, thank you very much, Matthew. I'd like to raise another point, as you might know as well that Malta has recently enacted the Virtual Financial Assets Act, which should become enforced on the 1st of November. And obviously one of the points that is raised in the Act, which basically relates to Article 3 and Article 7 of the TFA, is related to initial coin offerings, trying to attract basically a lot of companies to create ICOs. If you look at the international statistics, particularly during these past 2 years, ICOs activity was in the region of $6.5 billion in 2017, and at 2018, this year, it stood around 6.99 billion. However, looking at the trends of the past 3 months, we can see a significant downturn in this activity. Paweł, in your view, is this something to worry of concern for Malta? Are there other financial instruments which, in your view, should be pursued to support blockchain and innovative technology arrangements to acquire sources of finance? What are your views on this?
In my personal opinion, the ICO was not regulated. It was even not like venture capital. The way of financing some project, many startups. But the financial assets implement here, and it will be done after 2 months. It's been that you, as a part of the company, as a shareholders, you have all the rights, very similar like venture capital. But the revolution is that it's not the standard financial way to finance, but using the technology. So I think it will be one step ahead, because ICO cannot compare to STO, because the security token offering is something different than initial coin offering. So also the regulation, which will be in Malta as a first place over the world in Europe, give you like a huge competitive advantage to attract all the projects and start the financing here. And this is only, let's say, for startups and the company in early stage. But if you think a little bit deeply, you can adopt exactly the same law to already the public company, which is already listed in Warsaw or in Germany or in London. You can do the dual listing here and issuing the bonds, issuing the new equity, which will be based on the blockchain in Malta. So it will be something specific which should help Malta as a pioneer here in Europe and all over the world. And I think that keeping this competitive advantage will help very much to attract all those projects here.
Okay, thank you very much. I'd like to ask another question. It is a generic question, which is addressed to each and every one of the panel members. And basically, I'd like to ask, starting from Kenneth, whether the blockchain industry that has been attracting a lot of interest in Malta, do you think it's a fad? Is it something that can be sustained long term? What recommendations would you give the government in order to ensure that this initial success is sustained over time?
Well, if I look at the current state of play, we have the legal framework in place. We're finalizing the requirements for the regulatory framework to be in place. And this sector is now firmly on the launch pad. If I were to summarize really my view on this particular sector, I just say that we need to ensure that we protect the reputation of the sector. You alluded earlier that somewhat the sector has been tainted with some negative PR because some exchanges have been hacked, cryptos may have been used for illegitimate means. So clearly this is a new sector. It's not that we are aware of the pitfalls of the sector because it's a completely new sector in the early stage of development. So protecting the reputation of the sector and protecting the reputation of this country is paramount in the process. And this is not just the responsibility of policymakers in attracting business or the regulator in ensuring that they have a very stringent onboarding process. It's also the responsibility of VFA agents in particular, who in the risk management parlance, they are the first line of defense, that we must ensure collectively that we have very strong screening procedures, onboarding procedures to ensure we attract the serious players of this marketplace. So protecting the reputation, in my view, will be critical and pivotal to sustain the growth of this industry going forward, which in my view has a very bright future ahead of it.
Okay, thank you, Tim.
I think that's a great question. Whether blockchain in Malta is a fad or something sustainable. Let me just say that I think one answer is not on the panel or even with the government. I think it's with the entrepreneurs here, right? Many of you are visiting Malta and deciding whether to start a business, start a startup venture here in Malta. And I think that is the larger ecosystem that is needed to make something sustainable in Malta. Just to give you a glimpse of what we are doing at OKEX, OKCOIN, when I joined a little over 2 years ago, I was employee maybe 120. We are now approaching 700. This week we have brought 18 of our colleagues to Malta. So please visit us in our booth, ranging from sales, marketing, compliance, PR, media, operations. And we have just started to lay the foundation for Malta. We have only 3 local permanent hires, but we are looking for more. And so we certainly hope that it's not a fad. And I think, especially with the government, the 3 kind of agencies that I mentioned, kind of legislature, regulator, law enforcement, it provides for a great cultivation for the long term.
Thank you very much.
So I think what I would start with is, we're not new at this. So the government has managed, the country has managed to build at least 2 other clusters, so both gaming and financial services. And from our point of view, there's a strong parallel between the 3. So lessons learned, I think, is obviously a very important thing. From a talent point of view, the education system has been extremely responsive and nimble, mainly due to the size of the country. But I think at this stage, especially with clusters such as blockchain, you need to be ahead. So you need to be actually forecasting what skills are going to be required tomorrow rather than today. And I think that will give the industry consistency and it will give it a competitive edge. Okay? From a visa point of view, I think that's become much better. We've made huge improvements in the last 6 to 12 months. I think what we need to work on now is making the migration process, the ABCs of moving to Malta, a lot easier.
What about the lifestyle? Do you see it as a main issue for the future talents?
Yes. And as I said before, I think sort of we're mainly targeting, among the millennials, okay, so the millennial mindset. And often the way they see it is, career and lifestyle go together. I think if there's one foot we have as a country, is that we have a unique lifestyle. So whilst we're as progressive as any other nation I know, we need to be careful to protect our lifestyle.
Thank you very much.
No, I think that Malta is in the right place in this moment. We relocated our business from Poland to Malta since 1st June this year, even before the new law was enforced by Google. So we believe, because we know the relationship, we believe that the government, what they promised, what they were working and cooperating with us since last year, is done. So I think that this competitive advantage is already here. So I think that some marketing, some new projects, and be more open for financial market, not only from the financial market, give quite a good position in the comparison with the rest of Europe. Because everybody knows that Switzerland actually trying to do something, Liechtenstein, so for sure it will be some competition. But the technology is always changing, so also to be sensitive and feeling the technology and be open for very fast changes and implementation here, which is actually it should be something which government should pay attention to.
Okay, thank you very much. Kristian?
I think on the sustainability topic, it's an interesting one because we landed and we actually went into steamer, and now we have a problem on scaling, just literally getting the offices. We have 60 people approximately split between 4 offices. But to retain the culture of the Maltese and to talk about the scaling, I think we should actually suggest to regulators to explore some of the blockchain solutions. What about the regulation technology that is available in blockchain? I mean, we speak to banks and often the number one thing is, all right, we have to scale our compliance team to withstand millions of clients. Well, we can automate that. And we can use the technology itself to do self-regulation. These are critical topics. I mean, they might not be ready right now, but that is a topic that we should be discussing in the future. The second thing I say is if we have so many brilliant entrepreneurs on this island and companies, we should really look at pooling our resources. There is no need for us to be using independent suppliers. I think we can couple with, let's say, blockchain engineers and create an ecosystem, a crypto city, where we together can operate and be much more efficient, retaining the culture and the lifestyle of Malta. I think it's a duty of us to honor that.
Okay, thank you very much. I would like first of all to thank all the speakers who have participated in this dialogue. I sincerely hope that you have enjoyed this presentation, and I wish you lots of success and happiness. Listen and learn other sessions after our session. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Great discussion. Okay, our next presentation